This is a shipping software comparison video, but to give you a little bit of background about how this came about, I was doing a consultation with a customer where you could say, had a reverse supply chain where they would bring in products, refurbished products from different retailers, send them out to different vendors, and also receive from these products from different customers. And as they resold these products, they wanted to figure out a way to manage all their orders in one place. You know, yes, for parcel, for freight, big orders, but to also be able to connect their order management system into different marketplaces, not just your generic Amazon and Walmarts, but also something like Back Market. So for this particular customer, after having a discovery call, learning about what their needs were, what some of their hesitancies were, we did a consultation over different order management software. So this particular customer, they were in the industry where they were doing resale primarily of laptops and other electronics, and were involved in recycling. So their main channel was eBay. That was their main source of revenue, and they were looking to expand into other marketplaces as well. So for this particular customer, we found a couple of different options, order management systems that could work well with them. They were shipping 100 packages weekly with the idea of growing, and they had a geographic presence across Texas, California, and even parts of Canada as well. So, this was a multiple division company that also had like an e-commerce presence. So, they needed a solution that would kind of fit their specific needs for the platforms they wanted to sell their refurbished items on, as well that would help and connect with the different carriers that they were shipping with. So their whole main thing was, let's find a specific software that we can scale with. So that gives you a little bit of background into how I approach this comparison of software, taking a look at ShipRush, Shippo, ShipStation, and ShippingEasy. So we're going to cover pros and cons and different integrations as well, but just keeping in mind the background of how this came about and the particular customer that kind of inspired this presentation here. So let's take a look at ShipRush. So this one offers around 200 plus parcel and LTL shipping providers and 80 plus e-commerce and accounting connections. So it's pretty robust. So if you have a multi-channel shipping needs, this is a perfect solution for you. We found that it can send labels from one location. You can print off at another site. So depending on your warehousing in different places where your workers are, it offers that functionality. You can have phone, email, and chat support with all of its plans. So that is pretty nice to be able to at least be able to email or chat, talk to somebody on the phone as well, for doesn't matter what level of plan you have. And they also had a simplified order entry part, as well as their easy way to do tracking, and do weight calculations as well. So this particular one, ShipRush, connects with eBay, Amazon, Walmart, and Back Market as well. So this one was maybe something that they could look at potentially, because it provided a seamless integration with different platforms, as well as offered LTL and parcel provider needs. Maybe we can take a look here quickly at some of the pros and cons. Simplified workflow, full customer service support. One of the cons, well, there weren't many with ShipRush, was that depending on, we found a review from one customer that they had different connection issues with the cloud software. So sometimes it would disconnect randomly, and that would affect their printing. So that was one thing to be wary of and to consider within all of these pros for this particular platform that we talked through with this particular company. And it may apply to your company as well. So the second review that we did was of Shippo. So Shippo, I would say, pretty nice software and technology. They've integrated with Shopify as well. So there is something there in that aspect. There's no monthly fees with this one, just kind of a pay as you go type service. So that one is a very, let's say, cost effective option, cheaper option for people out there. The pros for this one, it's can enabled to connect with eBay, which worked for this particular customer, as eBay was their specific platform that they did most of their business on. Walmart at the time of this research was on the roadmap, didn't connect there, and back market had not been enabled. So a lot of pros to this one, but for this particular needs, for some of the uniqueness of wanting marketplaces that are outside of the main ones, or Targets, Amazon, Walmart still kind of being integrated here, Shippo still had a lot of work to do. But I would say they have a simple user experience, great for beginners to use, and like they said, perfect for merchants, sellers, buyers who aren't very technical as well. One of the downsides, if we compare it to ShipRush, is the limited tech support for the different plans that you have. Okay, we did take a look at ShipStation. Most people have heard of ShipStation. They're the ones who I would say connect everywhere. One of the most popular order management systems out there. So this one, they did connect to back market, so that was a big plus, as well as Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and Walmart. So a lot of custom integrations here that the customer could use if they went this direction. Uh, I would say good for a lot of different business models, particularly this one in the recycling refurbished space as well. So people with ShipStation, you can import and export your orders from a connected online store, um, and I would say it's that's one of the best things about it is they're able to connect to a lot of different carriers as well. It's harder than others probably with some additional pricings because they do have strong relationships on the UPS side. But if you're an e-commerce seller on WooCommerce, Shopify, selling on a marketplace, ShipStation is not a bad option. So it's very customizable, international shipping functionality for you. So that are some things to consider. And I would say probably similarly to Shippo, one of the pros of this one is the ease of use and the automation. Okay, ShippingEasy. Another one we looked at. So this one, a lot of the same functionality that you would find with ShipRush, ShipStation, and Shippo. This one unfortunately did not work with back market, but they did connect to eBay, Amazon, and Walmart. So not a lot here to dive into for this one, but I would say if you wanted to take a look here at the pros and cons, you can save money. They have good customer service, access to inventory and customer management tools, and there are lots of integration add-ons to this one. So probably not as robust as ShipStation, but you could say they have great support, strong integrations with other platforms, and you can you can get discounted shipping for this one. Probably depending on what carrier you're with, but there are some ways to save on that aspect if that's something that's important to you and your business. On the con side, their browser compatibility wasn't that great. They didn't adapt to all browser windows. Security information was sparse that I found. Um, Limited carrier service options. So depending on if you're shipping with the main ones like a FedEx, when you get into some of those smaller carriers, may not find them as easily as accessible as you would, as we found with ShipRush, or ShipStation. ShipRush alone had 200 plus parcel and LTL shipping providers and 80 e-commerce accounting needs. So ShipStation, ShipRush, Shippo probably are the gold standard on that end. And one of the other limiting factors when it comes to ShippingEasy was the weak reporting options there. So doing a brief side by side comparison, I would say it just depends on what your business needs are, depending on which one you would like to choose. For this particular customer, they went with the ones they were mostly interested in ShipRush and ShipStation. I believe they went with ShipRush just because that fit their needs better. It was eBay was natively already there. Back market was already on there. So, and I think depending on what they were able to get, they found a little bit of a cheaper options there. So, some of their risk for this particular customer that we kind of went through was, you know, they had issues syncing multiple sales channels. So, order management system was great because they had some operational inefficiencies that they need to be taken care of, make things a little bit less manual. When things are fragmented and you have a lot of shipping people in different locations, things can get lost as well, and it's hard to maintain where orders are going, who they're from, what are the costs associated with things. So that was one of the things they're working to clean up and scale their needs. And if you're trying to move to a new platform, if you don't have some of those back end things ironed out when it comes to figuring out like what are the costs of each shipments that are going out, so you can kind of get into the data and see your margin on everything, particularly like at a product SKU level. You're not able to see that, and then being able to just making sure you're putting your labels, having your pickups set up, and when you're sending out your parts to customers through one of these platforms, things are arriving on time, and there's a good customer experience for people who are buying your products as well. Not only the end user, but also, you know, anyone you're working with on that particular platform. So that's pretty much it we found. And the key takeaways we found was ShipRush was good for a lot of support, different carrier options, high volume. Shippo was good for small merchants, wanting simple as you go shipping options, good user experience. ShipStation was great for if you're an e-commerce store needing seamless integration across a lot of different platforms or importing things. And then ShippingEasy is, if you want automation, some marketing and inventory management tools, it could be a good option for you to take a look at. But if, like I said, depending on what integrations you want, the ShipRushes, the ShipStations may be the way to go as well. But not to say that ShippingEasy or Shippo wouldn't be an option for you.